welcome back. Today we will be making steaks, the best steaks ever. And we are in a home in Malibu overlooking the beautiful ocean, the beautiful beach to inspire us to get that juicy flavor out of those steaks. And I have two special guests with me. One is my friend Steve that will be joining us shortly. It's his home and he's the expert at making steaks. And the other guest is my sister Yvonne. Hello. Hello Yvonne. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, get ready.
Have fun.
Yes, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna be making the best steaks ever. And now for my very special guest, my friend Steve, who invited us to his beautiful home in Malibu, and he's the expert steak man. Hello Steve, thank you for being here.
My pleasure, I'm the steak man. And I'll tell you why. Hopefully you will see what I see in terms of what makes a good steak. Fundamentally, there are three issues of cooking: the ingredients, the seasoning, and the technique. The same applies to steak. If you have a bad cut of meat, you need to marinate it and do everything possible to make it somewhat tender and somewhat tasty. If you have a great cut of meat, you want to do everything to avoid ruining it. And what we have before us are probably the best quality steak that can be bought. These are Filet Mignons, and this is in New York, but more than just that, these are prime Filet Mignons, where you can see the marbling, which are the fat streaks in the meat, meaning that the cow was well nourished and gives the meat its flavor. This is a New York Wagyu, which is quite a huge steak. It's enough for 2 people. And again, you see the fat streaks in the meat, which is known as marbling. This is a level of quality even beyond prime. Prime meat is the top 2% of all steaks that you can get. There's also top choice, and select. Select will be the worst quality of meat that they'll send to the fast food chains and such. In this dish with them, I put canola oil, not olive oil, because olive oil has too low a burning temperature. When you're cooking a steak, you need a lot of fire, a lot of heat to get the meat charred, and we'll talk about that later on.
Which is why I invited my sister on the show, because of the fire and the heat. I figure let's raise the temperature even higher.
The temperature is boiling right now with these 2 gorgeous sisters on each side of me. It's very hard to concentrate, as you can imagine.
You're a lucky man.
And so, what I'm going to do now, I have to point out that the steaks were taken out of the refrigerator 2 hours ago. You want to cook them at room temperature. Otherwise, if you're taking them right out of the refrigerator, they'll be uneven because the center will be colder and it changes the whole process of cooking. Now what I'm going to next do is season the steaks. I'm going to use a coarse ground pepper, and a lot of it. Most of the seasoning will burn off. So a lot of coarse pepper. Remember, it's a very thick steak.
This won't make it very spicy?
No, you just give a peppery thing with it, what you want for the steak. It's not going to be like a peppercorn steak, which would taste so peppery.
Because it's already coarse.
So. Yeah, this is, now, use some kosher salt. You don't want to use fine-grained salt.
It's important to point out to not use fine grained salt, but the coarse salt.
And sprinkle it on. Try to keep it on the meat, not on the counter like I'm doing.
That's all right, you can get messy. I'm surprised you're not rubbing it on the meat.
No, no rubs. Doesn't need it, not with these kind of steaks. This is a combination of melted butter and olive oil. I'm going to be, as I said, most of this burns off. We'll be re-seasoning it later on. Now I said olive oil here, canola oil here. Once I have the initial char on the meat and I dip it, I cannot put it on the hot heat because it would burn too much. So this will be for a lower heat roasting later on. So you want to have some salt in this as well.
Oh, you season the butter as well.
And also, this we'll use a finer pepper.
I think that butter is going to be one of your secret weapons.
No, it's a small element, even when not used. It gives slight advantages in that the crust, the char, will be more moist and a little more flavorful. Now I season both sides. So we put our hands on the meat and flip it. And then I'm going to wash my hands because with any kind of raw meat, even though this is such beautiful meat, I'm touching the containers of the seasoning and such. So quick hand wash. my real career, I'm a surgeon, so, you know, we're all afraid of little critters.
Germs.
So again, same process. Coarse pepper on this side. Now while we're doing all this, the grill has already lit. It's tops down and the grill is getting very, very hot. And I also, besides having the grill being clean, I wipe the metal on the grill with canola oil. You don't want the steaks to stick. Pepper. Sometimes you can add a little coarse pepper to this too, but that's pretty much done. And some salt on this side.
How did you become so interested in the kitchen? You're so good in the kitchen and cooking.
You know, a little bit of obsessive compulsive disorder, perfectionist. I've gone all over the world to eat steaks. Argentina, Brazil, France, England, Italy, Japan, and
Told you I got you the best guy for steaks.
And all across the U.S.
all over the U.S. I've been to all the New York steak houses, such as Peter Luger's, and there's a great grill master named Adam Perry Lang who will probably be opening up a steak place soon. He did barbacoa with Jamie Oliver in London. Daisy May's barbecue. He's a master grill chef. Many, many people I learned from. So everything isn't my own invention. It's more like being a copycat.
Hey. So here are steaks.
The grill is super hot. Super hot. Put the big New York one on first. He has a rim of fat along it. That's good. That'll all burn off. That back in the kitchen. We're not going to reuse that. Redipping is right there. Now you're going to see there's a fire. That fire doesn't bother me at all. These are clean flames. This is a gas burning grill. And the first sides of these will take about 4 minutes to cook. One very important thing is a lot of people when they're cooking on a grill, they're always turning it. Don't do that. Leave it here to get the initial char where it's blackened. That turning of the meat from brown to black is termed the Maillard reaction. And it's a caramelization of the meat, and it gives a lot of it the seared flavor, besides keeping the juices in. The other thing that's very important, a lot of people, they try a juicy steak and they say, oh, it's bloody, or a rare steak is bloody. It's not bloody at all. This is the muscle of the meat. That's why it's red. The blood has all been drained. And the rare steak, or the juicy steak, that's from the water in the cells of the meat that makes it juicy. And it's just not blood. So that's an important thing to know. And we can just let these cook, and we're going to ignore them for about 4 minutes. This is not ready to turn. It's not ready to turn yet. If they're sticking, they're not ready to turn. Nice and beautiful color to that, you know. The filet. See the color in that, the char? Once I turn the steaks, I just want to let them cook through the other side. It's usually 1 minute less on the second side than the first side, but you don't want to keep flipping back and forth and back and forth. That just doesn't work. It's usually 1 or 2 flips. Now we're going to, of course, be re-seasoning and get even more flavor into them later on when we dip, once we get the initial char done. So that'll be in a few minutes, and I'll show you. These are still quite rare. This too, by how firm they are in terms of the texture. Now it's all moist. I'm going to have a flame with that one. You know, it just adds more flavor in the seasoning. So, the lower part of the meat. You can always just put them on the top one too. It's important to have a good tong so you don't drop your steaks. Now, if there's a flame, you can actually cook a steak in flame and fire. It's not something to panic about. If there's a fire going up into the meat, it's not something you throw water onto or anything like that. It actually promotes a good char on the outer surface of the meat. Now the texture, as to if they're done, these are rare, these steaks, but just by pushing it. This one's still too, and this is so thick it has a little ways to go. Remember, you can always undercook a steak and cook it some more. If you overcook it, it's ruined.
I think that's important what you said. You can always undercook it and cook it again, but if you overcook your steak, it's ruined. So it's better to be a little safe than sorry.
Bigger one's going to need 2 or 3 minutes. Just let it roast in there because it's so big and so thick to get the center cooked through. And these are actually still cooking a bit. You let steaks rest for about 10 minutes before you serve them. That's done. Now the texture is all done. Now what we can do next is I take a really good quality of olive oil, keep the char moist, a tiny little drizzle, what the finest steakhouses do. And then, finally, and you know, people shouldn't even have to add any salt. A little Fleur de sel, just a little sprinkle. Now, it's important to note that filet mignon is a very tender meat. It should be cooked rare or medium rare at the most. If it becomes medium, medium well, or well done, then it becomes much tougher. It loses that soft texture, which is the reason you want filet mignon. So for people that love to eat their steaks more well done, which is blasphemy, they should not bother with a filet mignon. They're just going to have a piece of shoe leather. You could do it with other cuts of meat, more well done, but not a filet mignon. So,
you ready to sample it?
We can sample. This needs to rest for a few more minutes.
Okay.
These have been
Let's
out.
sample the filet mignon.
Take this one here. Slice into it.
So it should be redder in the inside.
This is, yeah, like this. You want to have it bring. This is more on the medium rare side, and the other one there is more on the rare side. I'm just going to see that wonderful red pink color, and that's not blood. That's the juice of the meat, and it's cooked perfectly.
Perfect. I think we should try it.
I think you should both try it.
I'm going to take a little bit on the well done side, even though I may be committing blasphemy.
I'll have one of them.
Okay. So delicious.
Amazing.
Thank you,
Melt in
Steve.
your mouth.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, press the like button. Which button?
The like button.
Which button?
The like button.
And subscribe to my channel. And let me know. Email me. Were the steaks good? Did you try them? Did they come out all right? Love to hear from you and be able to make more recipes that you enjoy. Let me know what you like.